So that's an interesting point you make. I was on a panel in Ukraine, and a question came up about the migration of workforce and talent out of the country, and it was particularly viewed through a negative lens. But I would argue that, one, we're not talking about mass migration, and two, Luxoft has contributed, I think, to the growth of the technology ecosystem within other countries by showing the workforce profiles that are coming from Central and Eastern Europe. That's something that you have adopted pretty heavily in new areas for us, like Mexico and Malaysia in particular, and to a lesser extent, India.
Yeah, Patrick, you're right. Migration is an important part of our business, and overall, the industry is very dynamic in those terms, right? And right now, we see that some countries are more successful in attracting talent, and specifically through different government programs. Mm-hmm. And in APAC, specifically in Asia, a number of countries, they establish well-thought, well-developed programs to support such providers as Luxoft and attracting them as well as expertise. And that helps to grow their service offering, like on country level or on city level, to the next level to grow it up. So, for instance, in Malaysia, there is a well-established, well-developed government program that supports service providers like Luxoft. And again, we agreed with the government that we will bring our knowledge through the relocation of key experts from Europe, but also we are investing into training the local talent. And in that way, we are helping to grow the ecosystem in specifically Malaysia and Penang.
And so let's run with this point a little bit about training the local talent. So Luxoft's model has not been dependent solely on a country. We've already established that. But I think further to that point, when you talk about nearshore delivery, it's not also just about the country in and of itself, but it's about where from within that country you're doing the delivery from. So in some cases it's tier 1, it's tier 2, and probably even tier 3 cities, depending on how one would classify it. Can you discuss a little bit about how the model has been hinged around a tier 2 versus a tier 1 city, and then obviously particularly in APAC, we're in some interesting cities as well.
Right. Well, again, we started primarily in tier 1 locations in Central Eastern Europe, but on some stage we decided to expand to tier 2 cities, and in some cases to tier 3 cities. It adds again scalability. It adds our flexibility in attracting talent, and also adds flexibility in terms of cost balancing. So our model evolved that now we have balanced all 3 types of locations. Mm-hmm. And when we enter new countries right now, we are pretty flexible to consider tier 1, tier 2, and in some cases tier 3 cities at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. So in Asia Pacific, we see that, for instance, tier 2 cities are already pretty well developed as IT hubs, and we are pretty comfortable in setting up in tier 2 cities, like in Malaysia, in Penang, or in India, in Bangalore.
Yeah. It's hard to classify, I would say,
right.
tier 1 for tier 2 in
right.
India.
Yeah,
But in terms of what you mean by well-developed, the general infrastructure piece is there, right? Now it's just a question of the delivery piece from the technology side.
Yeah, correct.
That we're responsible for managing. And you mentioned the government aspect in Malaysia. We also see that, though, in Central and Eastern European countries that we work in? For instance, Ukraine, Poland, Russia, Romania to some extent. There are a lot of associations that represent the IT industry in general in a public affairs point of view to the government. And it seems like they're finally realizing the workforce here actually has a lot of talent, and they should be doing a lot to incentivize both organizations and, even from a B2B side, to think about Eastern Europe, APAC, and North America as different locations outside of the traditional Indian model.
Right. So the government is really keen right now on attracting service providers like Luxoft, and they do incentivize both companies and in some cases even employees to stay and work in that country or in a particular location. In Central Eastern Europe, you are correct. Number of countries, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Russia, they have some programs of that kind. In Asia Pacific, we see such programs across many locations. And even in the Americas, like in Mexico, also there are some programs to incentivize companies. So it's widespread, and it's good for business, and it's good for ecosystem, IT ecosystems.
How else do you see the kind of model evolving in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, as an organization, we are supporting company strategy. We are supporting client location strategy. And also recently, more and more these acquisitions, they add new locations to our global footprint. So what we see is that we will, as a company, we keep growing and will keep growing for upcoming years, and we need to support that. So APAC will definitely grow, and that's, again, one of the most dynamically growing region for us. But we also opened a couple of new locations in Central Eastern Europe, like in Russia, in Nizhny Novgorod, and also we see some opportunities to open in other countries. And in Americas, currently we do due diligence on a couple of locations in Latin America, and that might happen again in some upcoming years.
It's been interesting to further learn more about the growth and the horizon of the future of the model. You know, here's a bit of a tough question, but I think the answer is very, what I'm assuming, very well connected to business need. You know, if you had to use, one or two words to describe the model, not just from a location point of view, but from an actual how and a delivery point of view, what would it be?
Global and agile.
So global and agile, true differentiation for service providers in today's world where business outcomes are really driving the need to work with strong technology partners. It's going to be an interesting road ahead.
Absolutely.
Excited
Look
for
forward.
it. Yeah. Look forward to our next conversation. Thanks, Dmitry.
Me too. Thank you, Peter.